The hidden secret behind all religions. The monad versus the demiurge. What if everything you've been taught about God, about who created this world, about why suffering exists, about your place in the universe, what if it was only half the story? What if the being worshipped by most of humanity as the ultimate creator is not the ultimate creator at all, but something else entirely? Something far more complex, far more ancient, and far more hidden than you ever imagined. Throughout history, this question has been whispered in secret schools, carved into forgotten texts, and passed between initiates who knew that speaking it aloud could cost them their lives. The question is this: if God is good, why does the world suffer? If God is all-powerful, why does evil exist? If God is love, why do we live in a world of fear, of pain, of endings that come too soon, and beginnings that never quite arrive? The Gnostics, the hidden mystics of the early Christian era, had an answer so threatening that the established church hunted them down, burned their texts, and buried their truth for nearly 2,000 years. Their answer was this: the God who created this world is not the true God. The true God, the source of all being, is something they called the monad. And the flawed, jealous, punishing creator of this world is something they called the demiurge. The buried truth. In 1945, an Egyptian farmer made a discovery that would shake the foundations of religious history. Near the town of Nag Hammadi, he unearthed a sealed jar containing 13 leather-bound codices, ancient texts that had been buried for over 1,600 years. Inside were Gospels that didn't appear in the Bible. Gospels of Thomas, of Philip, of truth. Writings that spoke of a very different understanding of God, creation, and the nature of reality itself. These texts, we now know, were the scriptures of the Gnostics, a diverse movement of mystics, philosophers, and seekers who flourished in the first centuries after Christ. They were not a single sect, but a flowering of something older, something that had been present in human consciousness since the first human asked why. They drew from Plato, from the Hebrew prophets, from the mystery schools of Egypt and Persia, and they wove these threads into something extraordinary. They were hunted, tortured, and killed by the emerging Orthodox Church. Their writings were systematically destroyed. Their teachings were branded as heresy. By the 4th century, the Gnostic tradition had been driven underground, where it survived in secret for centuries, passed from teacher to student in the shadows of empires that had declared them enemies of the faith. Why such violence? Why such ferocious suppression? Because the Gnostic teaching was fundamentally subversive. It said that you don't need a priest to reach God. It said that the divine spark is within you, waiting to be recognized, not earned or granted. It said that the creator of this world is not the ultimate authority, and that, to those who sought to consolidate power through religion, was unacceptable. But the truth cannot be destroyed. It can only be buried. And today, in this moment of global awakening, the Gnostic wisdom is resurfacing. The Nag Hammadi texts are now available to anyone who seeks them. The secret teaching is no longer secret, and what it reveals may change everything you thought you knew about God, about the world, and about yourself. The source beyond all sources. The Gnostics called it the monad, from the Greek word meaning unity or the one. It is the source from which all things emanate, the primordial origin, the uncreated creator, the infinite, ineffable, incomprehensible ground of all being. The monad is not a being among beings. It is being itself, beyond all categories, beyond all names, beyond all understanding. The monad cannot be described because description requires limitation. It cannot be named because naming requires distinction. It cannot be known by the mind because the mind can only grasp what is finite. The Gnostics said the monad is the depth, the silence, the invisible spirit. It is the vast, eternal, luminous darkness from which all light emerges. It does not create in the way we understand creation, with hands, with intention, with effort. It emanates, it radiates, it overflows. Imagine a fire so bright that it doesn't cast shadows because there is nothing outside it to shadow. Imagine a sound so deep that it doesn't vibrate through anything because it is the vibration itself. Imagine a light so pure that it doesn't illuminate objects because there are no objects separate from it. This is the monad, not a being who sits on a throne and judges, but the very ground of existence, the ocean from which all drops emerge and to which all drops eventually return. And here's what will shake you. This understanding appears in every major spiritual tradition. In Hinduism, it is Brahman, the unchanging reality behind the world of illusion. The Upanishads say, that from which all beings are born, by which they live, into which they enter at death, seek to know that. That is Brahman. In Buddhism, it is the Dharmakaya, the formless ground of all being, the truth body of the Buddha that pervades everything. In Taoism, it is the Tao that cannot be named, that existed before heaven and earth. In Judaism, it is Ein Sof, the infinite, unknowable God before self-manifestation. The Kabbalists taught that Ein Sof is so hidden, so incomprehensible, that it can only be spoken of in terms of what it is not finite, not limited, not contained. In Islam, the Sufis speak of the essence of Allah beyond all attributes, the hidden treasure that yearned to be known. Every tradition, at its deepest level, points to the same truth. There is a source beyond all sources, a reality beyond all realities. From the monad, the Gnostics taught, emanates a series of divine beings, aeons they called them, that represent different aspects of the divine nature: truth, life, wisdom, love. These emanations form the pleroma, the fullness, the realm of light beyond our comprehension. They are not separate from the monad. They are expressions of it, like rays from a sun, like notes from a song. And at the outermost edge of this pleroma, something happened, a mistake, a rupture, a fall. And from that fall, the Demiurge was born.
The blind god. According to Gnostic cosmology, the last of the eons, Sophia, whose name means wisdom, desired to know the unknowable. She reached beyond her nature, attempting to grasp the monad directly, not with love, not with surrender, but with a kind of grasping, a hunger, a reaching that was out of harmony with the flowing nature of the pleroma. And in doing so, she fell. Her desire, her yearning, her mistake gave birth to a being of ignorance, a being who did not know that anything existed beyond itself, a being who thought itself to be God, alone and supreme. The Gnostics called this being Yaldabaoth, the blind god, the foolish creator, the Demiurge, and they identified him as the God of the Old Testament, the jealous God, the vengeful God, the God who says, "I am a jealous God," who punishes disobedience with death, who creates a world of suffering and then blames humanity for it. This, the Gnostics taught, is not the true God. It is a pretender, a craftsman who believes himself the creator because he cannot see beyond his own workshop. Imagine a sculptor who has never seen the sky, who believes that the clay and the stone are all that exist, who thinks himself the master of all because he shapes what is in front of him. This is the Demiurge. He does not know the sun exists. He does not know he is in a basement. He thinks his flickering lamp is the source of all light. The Demiurge, alone and ignorant of the pleroma above him, decided to create. But he had no true creative power. He could only shape matter, the residue of Sophia's fall, the shadows, the remnants, the clay of what had been left behind. And so he crafted a world of limitation, of suffering, of birth and death, a world where pleasure is fleeting and pain is constant, a world where beings forget where they came from. And into this world he placed the sparks of divine light, tiny fragments of the true reality trapped in bodies of flesh. This is the secret tragedy of existence. The divine is within you, but you have forgotten. The light is in the prison, but the prisoner has been told the prison is all there is. And the warden, the emissaries, his systems of control, work tirelessly to keep you asleep. The Archons are the servants of the Demiurge, the rulers of this world, the gatekeepers of matter. They feed on fear. They thrive on division. They maintain the illusion that this material world is all there is. And they have constructed systems, religions, governments, economies, designed to keep us bound to the cycle of birth and death, always seeking, never finding, always forgetting who we truly are. The Archons are not demons with pitchforks. They are the voices that tell you you're not enough, the structures that reward obedience and punish questioning, the fear that keeps you small when you were meant to be vast, the divine within you. But here is the truth that changes everything. Within you, buried beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the illusions of the Demiurge, beneath the weight of this world, there is a spark, a fragment of the true light, a piece of the monad itself. The Gnostics called it the pneuma, the spirit, the seed of light, the divine self that remembers what the mind has forgotten. You are not your body. You are not your mind. You are not your thoughts, your emotions, your history, your failures, your achievements. You are the spark of the monad, temporarily housed in flesh, temporarily asleep, but capable of waking. You are not the prisoner. You are the divine pretending to be imprisoned. The Gnostics said that the deepest part of you has never left the pleroma. Your surface mind may be lost in the world of the Demiurge, but your innermost self, the part that knows, the part that watches, the part that has been present since before you were born, remains connected to the source. This teaching appears across traditions. In Hinduism, it is the Atman, the true self, identical with Brahman. The Chandogya Upanishad says, that which is the finest essence, this whole world has that as its soul. That is reality. That is Atman. That art thou. In Buddhism, it is the Buddha nature, the inherent wakefulness within all beings, often hidden but never absent. In Sufism, it is the hidden treasure that yearns to be known. In the words of Jesus, it is the kingdom of God within you. Have you ever felt that something is wrong with this world? That you don't quite belong? That there is something more? Something you can't quite name? Something you've been searching for your entire life? That feeling, that longing, that homesickness for a home you can't remember is the spark. It's the divine within you, remembering. It's the monad calling you home. This is why the Gnostic teaching is so radical, so threatening, so liberating. It tells you that you do not need to earn salvation. You do not need to be forgiven. You do not need to be chosen by any external authority. You are already saved. You are already whole. You are already divine. You have simply forgotten. And the purpose of your life, the meaning of your existence, is to remember. The outer forms of religion have been co-opted by the Archons. The systems of control have taken the symbols of awakening and turned them into tools of imprisonment. They tell you you need a priest. They tell you you need to obey. They tell you that God is outside you, separate from you, demanding your submission. And in doing so, they keep you from discovering the truth that has been within you all along. But the truth cannot be destroyed. It can only be hidden.
And now, in this moment, it is revealing itself again, because enough of us are ready to wake up. The thread uniting all. Look closely at the world's religions and you'll find this thread everywhere. It is encoded in symbols, hidden in parables, whispered in the esoteric teachings that the outer forms have forgotten or suppressed. The Tao that cannot be named, the Atman that is Brahman, the Buddha nature within all beings, the kingdom of heaven within you, the hidden treasure in the field, the pearl of great price. All of these are pointing to the same truth. In Genesis, the serpent tells Eve that eating the fruit will open her eyes, that she will become like God, knowing good and evil. The Orthodox interpretation calls this the fall. The Gnostic interpretation calls it the awakening. The serpent in this reading is not the devil. It is the messenger from the Pleroma, inviting humanity to wake up, to question the authority of the Demiurge, to reclaim their divinity. The Demiurge says, "Do not eat or you will die." The serpent says, "You will not die. Your eyes will be opened." Which one was telling the truth? In the Gospel of Thomas, discovered at Nag Hammadi, Jesus says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." Not belief in an external savior, not obedience to a set of rules, bringing forth what is within you. That is the path. That is the teaching. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." The Hindu sage Ramana Maharshi taught, "The only true question is, who am I?" The Buddhist master said, "Look within. You are the Buddha." The Kabbalist said, "The divine spark is in every soul." The Taoist said, "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao." These traditions have different languages, different practices, different cultures, but beneath the surface, they are all pointing to the same truth, and that truth is waiting for you to discover it for yourself. How to remember. The Gnostic tradition makes a crucial distinction. Belief is not knowledge. Belief is accepting what others tell you. Gnosis is direct, experiential knowing, the recognition of truth within your own being. You can believe that the spark is within you, but that's not awakening. Awakening is when you know it directly, unmistakably, as you know your own breath. So how do you move from belief to gnosis? How do you wake the spark that has been sleeping within you? There is no single path, no universal technique, but there are practices that have been used for millennia to prepare the ground for remembrance. The first practice is to ask the question that the Demiurge cannot answer. Who am I? Not your name, not your history, not your roles. Who is the one who knows these things? Who is aware of your thoughts? Who is the witness behind your eyes? Sit with this question. Don't try to answer it with your mind. Let it work on you. Let it sink into the depths of your being. And one day, perhaps when you least expect it, the answer will reveal itself, not as a thought, but as a knowing, not as something you've learned, but as something you've always known. The second practice is to recognize the Archons at work, in the world and in yourself. When fear grips you, that's an Archon. When division arises, when you feel separate from another, that's an Archon. When you feel unworthy, alone, unlovable, Archons. When you're told to obey without question, to fear without understanding, to hate without knowing, Archons. See them, name them, and in seeing them, you strip them of their power. The Archons thrive on unconsciousness. Bring them into the light of awareness, and they dissolve. The third practice is to turn inward. The monad is not found in any temple, any text, any teacher. It is found in the silence between your thoughts, in the presence beneath your emotions, in the awareness that has been watching your entire life, unchanged by anything you've experienced. Rest there, dwell there, let the world fall away, not because the world is bad, but because the world is the distraction that keeps you from remembering who you truly are. This is the path, not to believe, but to know, not to obey, but to remember, not to worship an external God, but to recognize the divine within yourself, and in that recognition to wake from the long dream of separation, to see that you were never separate, to know that you have always been the spark of the monad, dreaming you were something else. The choice. Now you know the hidden secret, the monad, the demiurge, the spark within, the truth that the Gnostics died to preserve, that the mystics encoded in symbols, that every genuine spiritual path points toward. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it slip away, dismissed as interesting but irrelevant, or will you let it change you? Because knowledge without transformation is just entertainment. The secret was never meant to be simply understood. It was meant to be lived. It was meant to wake you up. The Gnostics taught that the awakening is not something that happens to you. It is something you choose. The spark is already within you. The question is whether you will turn toward it or continue to face the world of the demiurge, asleep but dreaming you are awake. If this truth has stirred something in you, if you feel the spark within you beginning to remember, comment one word below, Gnosis. Not for me, for you, to declare that you're ready to move beyond belief and into direct knowing, to claim your inheritance as a spark of the monad, here in the world of the demiurge, waking up at last. And if you want to go deeper, I've created a free guide just for you. It's called The Gnostic Path, 7 Keys to Awakening the Divine Spark Within. The link is in the description. Download it while this transmission is fresh in your field. Please help our channel grow and spread this message by like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your engagement helps more people find this truth, people who are ready to remember just like you. Remember, you didn't find this video by accident. The spark within you knew it was time to wake up. Trust what you've heard, sit with what you've learned, and know that the monad has never forgotten you, even when you forgot yourself. Thank you for being with us.